The stars stretched endlessly across the black canvas of space, distant and cold, indifferent to the lives that scuttled through their void. Commander Elias Carter leaned over the navigation console aboard the Imperial Sentinel, the flagship of the Galactic Empire's Outer Rim fleet, eyes narrowing at the anomalous readings flickering across the holographic displays. The galaxy had always been predictable. Borders held, fleets patrolled, and the Empire's dominance went unchallenged. That predictability was gone. For days, reports had been coming in from every edge of the sector, strange energy fluctuations, ghostly signatures appearing and disappearing without explanation, and ships claiming to have seen something. Carter had dismissed the initial chatter as sensor malfunctions, hyperactive crews, or the usual rumors that accompanied any minor anomaly. But now, staring at the readouts, he could no longer deny it. Something was out there. Something impossible. Lieutenant Sarah Whitman approached cautiously, her boots silent against the metallic deck. She was young, sharp, and unnervingly calm under pressure, one of the few reasons Carter trusted her judgment. "Sir," she said, voice tight but steady, "we've picked up something unusual." Not just unusual, impossible. Carter turned toward her, the weight of command pressing down like gravity. Impossible how? Explain, Lieutenant. I don't have time for speculation. Sarah exhaled slowly, eyes scanning the holographic array. It's a ship, but it doesn't exist in any registry, on any transponder logs, or even in the sector charts. It just appeared. Carter's frown deepened. Appeared? How does a warship just appear in real space? Explain the physics, Lieutenant. I'll wait. She hesitated. I don't know how. One moment, the sector was empty. No readings, no ships, nothing. Then suddenly, this. The hologram shimmered, a ghostly blue outline emerging in the void. The vessel was enormous, angular yet sleek, bristling with weapons arrays that were unfamiliar even to the Empire's seasoned engineers. Its hull emitted a soft, pulsing light, almost as if the ship itself was alive, breathing in the darkness of space. Carter rubbed his jaw. No signatures of jump drives, no subspace entry, no cloaking emissions, nothing. And yet it's here? Yes, sir, Sarah replied, her voice dropping. And it's moving, purposefully. Calculated. Like it knows exactly what it's doing. The bridge lights dimmed slightly as the ship's energy field flared faintly across the sensors, bathing the crew in a ghostly glow. Carter felt a cold, unfamiliar dread creep along his spine. The Empire had faced rebellion, piracy, even rogue warlords, but this was unlike anything they had ever seen. The comms crackled, and Admiral Victor Harlan's authoritative voice filled the bridge. Carter. Report. Our fleet is in disarray. What in the name of the Empire is happening out there? Carter swallowed hard. Admiral, it's a human warship. His own words felt foreign, even to him. And it appeared out of nowhere. There was a pause on the line. Then Harlan's voice, tinged with disbelief and a rare undercurrent of fear, came again. A human warship? Impossible. We've contained every human colony. Every fleet. They can't. Before he could finish, the ghostly warship flickered directly into the forward path of the Sentinel's escort formation. For a heartbeat, the stars seemed to freeze, the universe holding its breath. And then, a pulse of energy, blinding and searing, erupted from the ship's hull. The Empire's forward shield screamed under the attack, failing almost immediately. One of the Imperial destroyers disintegrated in a silent explosion, metal and fire scattering into the void. The crew gasped, many clutching at consoles, hearts hammering in disbelief. Carter slammed his fist onto the command rail. All weapons, focus fire. Target that ship now. But the warship was already moving, gliding through the fleet with terrifying precision. Every salvo fired at it seemed to evaporate midspace, as though the ship itself was untouchable. The shields held firm, and the hull flickered almost imperceptibly, phasing around the Imperial attacks. The crew aboard the Sentinel stared in horror and fascination. The ship was intelligent, alive in a way no machine should be. Sarah whispered, barely audible, "It's alive." Carter's stomach nodded. "No, Lieutenant, it's worse than that. It's smarter than any enemy we've ever faced. Every strike, every move, it's calculated. Surgical. It's hunting us." The Imperial Sentinel's comms erupted in chaos as fleet officers screamed orders, only to see one by one their ships torn apart. Carriers, cruisers, and frigates were destroyed with unerring accuracy. The void bloomed with fire and debris, and yet the human warship remained unscathed, moving like a shadow in the dark, unstoppable, untraceable. Admiral Harlan's voice broke through the panic, now trembling with raw fear. "Withdraw immediately. Call every available fleet. Do not engage. Save what you can." Carter shook his head, his jaw tight. "It won't matter, sir. Nothing will. Reinforcements, backups, fleets, they're irrelevant. This isn't a fight we can win." Somewhere deep inside the Sentinel, a young communications officer muttered, staring at the sensor readouts in disbelief, "Sir, it just appeared inside our formation." "How?" Carter cut him off, his voice low but firm. "It doesn't matter how. Focus on survival. Keep your head, or you're already dead." But even survival seemed futile. Within moments, the fleet's formation had disintegrated. The human warship, its energy halo pulsing like a heartbeat in the dark, swept through the remnants of the Imperial fleet, leaving twisted metal and drifting corpses of ships in its wake. And then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the ship vanished. The void seemed calm again, but the Empire knew better. Somewhere beyond sensors, beyond reality itself, it waited. Patient. Calculating. Unyielding. Carter stood on the bridge, staring at the empty void where the warship had been moments ago, chest tight, mind racing. "We've never faced anything like this," he muttered. Sarah's hand rested lightly on his shoulder. "No one has, sir. And I don't think the galaxy will ever recover from it." Far away, in the darkness beyond human perception, a single figure sat in the captain's chair of the human warship. Jonathan Hayes, calm, focused, and unwavering, observed the destruction with quiet satisfaction. Around him, the bridge crew moved like shadows, silent and efficient, trained to perfection. Their mission was simple: remind the galaxy that humanity was not to be underestimated. That one ship, if driven by enough will and precision, could change the course of an empire. And as the stars blinked coldly in the background, the first strike against the Galactic Empire had been made. A warship had materialized from nothing. And for the Empire, the nightmare had only just begun. The galaxy was in chaos. News of the mysterious human warship had spread faster than any Imperial dispatch could contain. Across hundreds of star systems, fleet officers whispered in disbelief, commanders panicked, and ordinary citizens stared at the night sky with a mixture of awe and terror. One ship, one impossibly advanced human vessel, had reduced a full fleet to smoldering wreckage, and the Empire was scrambling to comprehend the impossible. Captain Jonathan Hayes sat in the command chair of the Intrepid, a massive yet sleek human warship whose design seemed more like a living organism than a conventional vessel. The bridge was dimly lit, the hum of the engines resonating in the deck plates beneath his boots. Behind him, Lieutenant Megan Ross, his tactical officer, tapped quickly at the console, reviewing the Empire's remaining positions. Her face was pale but focused, eyes darting over each holographic representation of Imperial fleets. "Captain," she said finally, voice steady, though the tension was palpable, "our scans show minimal planetary defenses in the next sector. They've thrown everything into the outer rim, thinking that's where we'll strike next. They don't realize we can appear anywhere." Hayes leaned back, his fingers steepled beneath his chin. "That's precisely why they won't see us coming. Every time they think they've predicted our location, we're already in position. Timing is everything, Megan. The Empire has grown complacent. It's time they paid for underestimating humanity." The Intrepid's engines thrummed with a low, resonant pulse, almost as if the ship itself were alive, aware, coiled like a predator ready to strike. Unlike the Empire's lumbering dreadnoughts, slow and bulky, the Intrepid could phase between reality and the void, materializing at will with near-perfect precision. It was the result of decades of clandestine human experimentation, a fusion of jump tech, quantum phasing, and experimental energy shielding. Far across the galaxy, in what remained of Imperial High Command, panic had become routine. Admiral Victor Harlan had gathered the surviving fleet remnants, attempting to coordinate a defensive strategy. But every scan returned the same terrifying message: the human warship had vanished. And when it reappeared, it was always in a position of complete advantage. Carter, still reeling from his first encounter with the ship, was now assigned to assist in the Empire's desperate attempts at countermeasures. He stood in the strategic operations room, monitors displaying twisted fragments of fleet formations and the wreckage of Imperial cruisers. "Sir," one officer reported, voice trembling, "every engagement is identical. The ship phases in, strikes with perfect efficiency, and disappears before we can respond. Our best tactics, they're useless." Carter's fists clenched. It's not just tactics. It's intelligence. Coordination. They anticipate our moves. Every fleet we deploy is already obsolete before it even reaches the battlefield. This is more than a ship. It's a weapon of thought. Meanwhile, Hayes surveyed the next sector. The Empire had centralized its forces, hoping to create a kill zone where the remaining fleets could counterattack. But Hayes had anticipated this. The Intrepid materialized directly inside the heart of the Imperial formation, sensors detecting every weakness, every blind spot. "Fire the first wave," Hayes commanded. His voice was calm, deliberate, unshaken by the magnitude of the destruction they were about to unleash. Megan Ross executed the order with precision, releasing a series of plasma lances that streaked across space like glowing knives. The Empire had prepared for resistance, but not for this. The plasma cut through the outer shields of the command station like butter, detonating in brilliant cascades of fire and energy. Imperial personnel scrambled at their consoles, shouting orders, but it was already too late. The central command hub, the beating heart of the Empire's fleet coordination, erupted in a wave of destruction. Explosions rippled through the structure, metal twisted in impossible angles, and all systems went dark. Carter watched from the strategic station, mouth open. They've destroyed the command hub. Every sector's fleet coordination is gone. This is annihilation. Harlan's voice crackled over the emergency calm, strained and almost incoherent. "Call for reinforcements. Every sector, launch everything. Don't let them." But Hayes had already vanished from sensors, materializing elsewhere, executing perfect strikes at choke points, supply depots, and fleet assembly points. The Empire's remaining ships were scattered, disoriented, and vulnerable. The Intrepid moved with surgical precision, phasing in and out of visibility, always striking at critical junctures. Sarah Whitman's voice trembled as she spoke over the Imperial comms to Carter. "Sir, it's like they're everywhere at once. I don't think we can stop them." Carter's eyes narrowed, jaw tight. "They're not just fighting us. They're dismantling our ability to fight. Every fleet, every command, gone. It's not an attack. It's a reckoning." Across the galaxy, the human warship had become more than a vessel. It was a symbol of inevitability, a testament to the power of human innovation and will. Planetary governors whispered the name of the captain, Jonathan Hayes, in fear and awe. He wasn't just a man. He was a storm, and every Imperial system was about to be swept away. Hayes' crew worked silently, each member perfectly synchronized. Weapons arrays recalibrated in seconds, shields shimmered with adaptive energy fields, and the phasing engines hummed, bending space around the ship. To the Empire, it appeared as if the warship was everywhere, striking in multiple sectors simultaneously. In truth, it was human cunning, combined with technology beyond comprehension, exploiting every weakness the Empire had. Carter turned to an officer beside him, voice low. "They're calculating. Every move we make, they're one step ahead. They don't just fight, they predict, anticipate, and eliminate." Meanwhile, Hayes observed the crumbling Empire from the Intrepid's bridge. His expression was calm, almost serene. Every move had been planned, every calculation executed. There was no joy in the destruction, only purpose. Humanity had been underestimated for centuries, confined, contained, and dismissed. Now, the galaxy was learning a painful lesson. One warship, with the right crew and the right mission, could dismantle an empire. The Intrepid materialized within a critical junction of Imperial logistics, a choke point meant to funnel supplies and reinforcements to the outer rim. Within moments, the station was ablaze, its defensive turrets destroyed before they even powered up. Imperial officers scrambled, trying to transmit warnings, but the Intrepid's phased weapons dissolved every transmission into static. "Status, Lieutenant Ross?" Hayes asked quietly. "All sectors compromised, Captain. The Empire's fleet coordination is fragmented. They won't be able to mount a coherent defense for weeks, if not months," she replied. Hayes nodded. "Then we continue. No mercy. Precision. Every strike must serve the mission. Every system they've relied upon will fall." Carter, observing the devastation in real time, finally understood the magnitude of what was happening. "This isn't war," he whispered, almost to himself. "This is the end. A single ship, annihilating an entire empire's structure. They've weaponized inevitability." Across the void, the Intrepid glided silently, a ghost among stars, leaving nothing but whispers of terror in its wake. The Empire had underestimated humanity, and now every system, every fleet, every colonized world was paying the price. For the first time in centuries, the Empire was not just losing a battle, it was losing its soul. And as the human warship prepared for the next strike, materializing in sectors the Empire had assumed safe, Hayes sat in his chair, calm, determined, and resolute. Humanity had taken its first true step onto the galactic stage, not with diplomacy, not with fleets, but with inevitability. And for the Galactic Empire, the reckoning had only begun. The galaxy was on fire. Not literal fire, though debris and shattered hulls of Imperial warships drifted silently through the void like stars fallen from orbit. It was a fire of fear, of inevitability, of something no one could stop. The human warship had become a phantom nightmare, materializing out of nowhere, striking with surgical precision, then disappearing before retaliation could even begin. Captain Jonathan Hayes stood at the helm of the Intrepid, his eyes fixed on the holographic projections of the Imperial fleets scattered across the Epsilon expanse. Each glowing dot represented thousands of men, billions of credits, and centuries of galactic dominance, all teetering on the brink of annihilation. Hayes' expression was calm, resolute, as if he were observing chess pieces being removed with perfect timing. Behind him, Lieutenant Megan Ross adjusted targeting arrays, her fingers dancing across controls with precise efficiency. "Captain," she said quietly, "the Empire is consolidating its remaining fleets near the Epsilon expanse. They've created a choke point. This is where they'll try to make their last stand." Hayes leaned back slightly, considering. "Good. Let them gather. The more they consolidate, the more predictable they become. We'll strike at the heart. Nothing else matters. Every strike must dismantle their ability to fight." The Intrepid's engines thrummed with low, almost living resonance. Unlike the Empire's clunky dreadnoughts, designed for intimidation and brute force, the human warship was an instrument of precision. It could phase between real and quantum space, appearing wherever it was needed and disappearing in an instant. For the Empire, it was not just a weapon, it was a ghost, a force they could neither comprehend nor counter. Far away, Admiral Victor Harlan stared at the tactical displays aboard the Imperial Citadel. His remaining fleet had been reduced to a scattered assembly of half-functioning cruisers, corvettes, and supply ships. Command structures were in ruins, and communication lines were fractured beyond repair. Even now, he refused to believe that humanity was capable of this. "They can't be here," he muttered to himself. "One ship, it's impossible. We've contained every human colony. Every fleet. How?" Carter, observing the same displays, shook his head slowly. "It's not impossible," he said, voice low, almost reverent. "They've weaponized unpredictability. And now, they've brought it to us." Harlan's hands trembled on the console. "Then we fight. We do what we must. We..." But the words were lost as the Intrepid materialized at the heart of the Imperial choke point. There was no warning salvo, no time to prepare. One moment, the fleet believed it held a defensible position, the next, they were staring down a leviathan of human engineering, energy pulsating across its hull like a living heartbeat. Hayes gave the order with calm authority. Fire everything. Plasma lances streaked through space, cutting through shields and tearing apart the front lines of the Imperial fleet. The first of the dreadnoughts exploded in a silent, incandescent bloom, metal twisting and fragmenting into the void. Seconds later, corvettes and frigates followed in rapid succession, a symphony of destruction executed with devastating precision. Even the Empire's best commanders were powerless. Every maneuver they attempted, every counterstrike, was anticipated. Sensors became useless as the Intrepid phased in and out of visibility, always striking at the critical points of command and supply. Carter's voice came over the emergency comms, disbelief audible in every word. "Admiral, they're dismantling everything. Every ship we've launched, destroyed. Our fleets are gone. The command centers, all gone. It's over." Harlan's voice broke, barely coherent. "Impossible, humans, they can't." Hayes cut across the channel, his voice calm, measured, carrying the weight of inevitability. "This is humanity. We survive when the odds are against us. We fight when everything is against us. And we win when they thought us powerless." The remaining Imperial forces attempted one last coordinated strike, concentrating fire on the Intrepid, hoping sheer numbers could overwhelm it. Missiles streaked across the void, energy beams slashed through space, and the air aboard the Intrepid hummed with tension. Yet, as always, the human warship moved with impossible precision. Weapons dissolved against its phased hull, and counterstrikes tore apart every formation, every tactic, every illusion of control. Across the battlefield, entire fleets disintegrated. Planetary defenses collapsed. Supply lines were severed. Communication networks were annihilated. The Empire's carefully constructed galactic order unraveled within hours. Every system once under Imperial rule now faced freedom, chaos, or the chilling presence of humanity's wrath. On the bridge of the Intrepid, Hayes watched the unfolding destruction with quiet satisfaction. His crew moved with silent efficiency, each action calculated and precise. There was no joy in the devastation, only purpose. Humanity had been underestimated for centuries, contained, dismissed, and ignored. Now, it had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same. Lieutenant Ross spoke, voice steady but awed. "Captain, the remaining Imperial fleet is fragmented. There's nothing left to coordinate. They won't be able to regroup." Hayes nodded. "Then we finish it. Every system they've relied upon will fall. Humanity isn't just fighting, they're reclaiming what was underestimated. Let the galaxy witness the consequences of underestimation." Even the remaining Imperial admirals could see the inevitability. The warship was everywhere, yet nowhere. It appeared in critical sectors, striking at choke points, dismantling logistics, and destroying command structures. The Empire's remaining leaders were powerless, watching their centuries-long dominion crumble in a matter of hours. Carter turned to Harlan, voice heavy with realization. "They aren't just ships. They're ideas, systems, inevitability made flesh. Humanity has weaponized intelligence, strategy, and timing into a force we cannot withstand." Harlan's hands shook as he stared at the holographic projections, remnants of what had once been a powerful fleet reduced to drifting wreckage. We underestimated them. I never thought one ship could." Hayes allowed the Intrepid to materialize once more in the heart of the remaining Imperial fleet, this time striking decisively at the flagship. Explosions rippled across the void as the last bastion of Imperial command crumbled. There was no surrender, no retreat, only finality. As silence settled across the battlefield, broken only by the hum of distant wreckage drifting through space, Hayes gazed at the stars. The Intrepid floated alone in the void, victorious yet solemn. The galaxy had witnessed the emergence of human ingenuity, precision, and determination. For the surviving humans aboard the Intrepid, there was no celebration, only quiet satisfaction and the understanding that they had done what was necessary. For the galaxy, the human warship had become legend, a symbol of power, intelligence, and unyielding resolve. Carter, observing the remnants of the Empire's once mighty fleet, whispered, disbelief in his voice. They weren't just ships. They were inevitability. One ship, one crew, and an empire is gone. Harlan, silent for the first time in decades, could only watch as the Intrepid phased out of sensors, disappearing into the dark void of space. Humanity had sent a message that no empire could ignore. Somewhere, far from the remnants of the Imperial forces, Hayes looked out at the endless stars. The mission was complete, the empire toppled, and a new chapter of galactic history had begun. Humanity had arrived not as diplomats, not as conquerors, but as a force beyond comprehension, unstoppable, precise, and resolute. And in the emptiness of space, the Intrepid floated, a phantom warship in a silent galaxy, leaving only whispers, legends, and a chilling truth: underestimating humanity had been the Empire's final, fatal mistake. The galaxy would never recover.